Our guests today are Scott Kimpel and Olga Khavatskaya. Scott is a partner of Hunton Andrews Kurth here in Washington, D.C. He used to work at the SEC as a counselor to Commissioner Troy Paredes. Scott is one of those go-to people for me. He seems to know everything about the securities law and corporate law. Olga is Assistant General Counsel and Assistant Corporate Secretary at Philip Morris International in Switzerland. Very excited to have Olga. I'm Brock Romanek today on Zippy Point. And it's interesting how risk factors is different than MD&A cautionary language. Of course, when you have forward-looking information, you're always putting yourself a little bit more at risk out there. Scott, how do you see mixing risk factor and cautionary language into that?
I mean, that's always been the tension in MD&A is the commission pushing and encouraging registrants to disclose forward-looking information and trends. And, in some cases, like if it is proposed regulations, that's one way to look at it. But, what do you do with other trends in the business that, are more financial or economic in nature that are harder to suss out? We're seeing that especially now with, again, coronavirus and several releases from the commission and several speeches that the SEC chairman has given, pleading with companies to provide as much color as they can. And if you do, we promise we won't bring enforcement cases against you. But I think, it goes back to basic concepts. Every Q and K should have a very thorough forward-looking statement disclaimer, ideally up front. One that's not overly generic, one that's updated regularly to reflect the most recent developments. If you're using the same language, report after report, year after year, it's probably time to give it a fresh look. I've seen some companies that also include kind of a mini forward-looking statement warning at the front end of MD&A itself that says, look, guys, we're getting into some forward-looking territory here. Management doesn't have a crystal ball, so these are our best assumptions, best estimates, that sort of thing. Otherwise, it's a balancing act, but I don't think companies need to be shy about using phrases like we believe, we intend, we anticipate. Those can do a lot of work, particularly if it's something that you're not sure about or that is, something you're trying to predict in the future. And I've been involved in litigation, with private litigation in an SEC enforcement cases and kind of on both sides of the V there. And the presence or absence of that kind of language can be very critical to particularly a defendant making its case. So don't be afraid to use it when necessary.
Yeah, that's why we're getting paid the big bucks and disclosure lawyers.